Good morning. We are doing a very interesting topic today, which is called action and inaction. This is from the Bhagavad Gita. So far, we have covered up to chapter 4, verse 15. So, we are going to do from verse 16 onwards. Today's topic is very important for every material human being. You will understand the importance of this topic once I cover it. What is the meaning of the word action? What is the meaning of the word inaction? And what is the meaning of the word prohibited actions? So there are three kinds of actions that are there. All right. So we call it karma, akarma, and vikarma. So there are three kinds. All right. So we are going to cover that. This is a question which has been asked by Arjuna to Sri Krishna. So we are going to cover that. We are doing Bhagavad Gita. This is chapter 4. And the verse is 16, where Sri Krishna is answering Arjuna. What is action and what is inaction? Even men of intelligence are puzzled over this question. Therefore, I shall expound to you the truth about action, knowing which you will be freed from the evil effects, that is the shackles of karma. We are doing a chapter where karma is being discussed at length. Karma is associated to the doership, doing. Doing means action is involved in doing. But sometimes we refuse to do action. It is like Arjuna is right now refusing to even lift his bow and arrow and go into the war. This is a very serious problem which Krishna is trying to sort out. So the question of action and inaction has come up. Even in our daily life, this question comes up very, very regularly. If you see somebody lying on the road, hurt, or if you see one man is beating a child, that is a parent who is beating the child. Or you see a husband and wife fighting. You see too many actions going on in the world. Today's day and age, the action of even giving food to someone, because there is so much of shortage of food around. So should I do it or shouldn't I do it? Isn't these questions that need an answer? These are issues which daunt everybody. There isn't a single person in this world who can say, oh, I know the answer. So Krishna is going to give the answer. It comes in a number of verses, but understanding what you want to know from those answers is important. So here he uses a word which is so very important. The word which he uses over here is, therefore I shall expound. What is this expound? Expound is giving a deeper meaning of the words. All the words are hidden. They are in a codex. They are so nicely hidden right in front of our eyes. We cannot see and understand them. So you require somebody to decipher them for us, isn't it? So the exposition is necessary. Revealing the knowledge is very important. I would like you to just consider for a fact that Arjuna, who is such an educated and a very famous person during the times of Mahabharata, everybody was scared of him. You know that. He was among the finest archers in the world. He had learnt under very, very famous sages and saints. His knowledge would have been absolutely perfect. And yet, he is standing in front of Krishna begging that I don't want to fight this war. He just doesn't want to get into it because it can cause a lot of misery to everyone. Think, this is the situation which comes up when there are two people fighting on two sides and you are caught in the middle. In most of the cases, the problem comes where the mother-in-law on one side and the wife on one side and the son-in-law in the middle. The son in the middle. Just think, what is the situation? He cannot take the side of the mother or his wife, because he takes the side of his mother, his wife is going to get upset. If he takes the wife's side, her mother is going to get upset. And at that point in time, he is dangling in the air. He doesn't know what he's supposed to do. So these kind of situations come up quite a lot in everybody's life. At the time of examination, you might have finished your, whatever courses that you are supposed to, and you have come to a crossroad. That crossroad says you can study further or you can take up a job. What are you going to do? Isn't this a major issue in everybody's life? A woman may be undergoing a tremendous stressful period in her life with her husband. Now she is at a crossroad again. Should I go in for a divorce or should I not go in for a divorce? This is also a very critical question that comes up. Should I continue in the same relationship, which is an abusive relationship, or should I go away? So there is an action on one side, there is inaction on one side. And this is the major issue which everybody faces. And we need answers. The answers have to be very, very good. You know the reason why? Because if the answer is not the perfect one, you can get trapped in karmic debt with that person, whoever it might be. Karmic debt is on one side. The misery which you will face in your life is also quite a lot. Think. And that is the reason why, should I do it? Shouldn't I do it? Should I do it? Shouldn't I do it? This is the question. So what is action and what is inaction? Even men of intelligence are puzzled over this question. There isn't a single man who can say, I know the answer. So the intelligent person who may have the most fantastic, brain, or he has ability to sort out issues, is not able to answer this. Therefore, I shall expound to you the truth about action, knowing which you will be freed from the evil effects of the shackles of karma. This is where the problem lies. The action you have to perform, whatever it might be, Krishna is explaining, otherwise you are going to get trapped in the cycle of birth and death. I will give you one or two examples over here. Let us say there is an abusive relationship between two people. One person is very aggressive, the other person is very passive. The material world always sides the passive one. They say, poor thing, he's in such a bad relationship. You know, one day this person has to let go and go away from there. The person should have that guts to do it. So we take sides and we say the poor person is suffering so much. We don't like suffering to be seen with our own eyes. So this is a relationship where one is very aggressive, maybe beats the other person up or does something. And then on the other side, there is an absolutely passive person who is facing the brunt all the time. Now, if this person who is facing the brunt all the time doesn't take action, what happens in the future? The aggressive person is a man, the passive person is a woman. In the material world, they do not get justice because this man is beating this woman. You may say there is no justice in the world, in God's world. But what you fail to understand is the karma is getting recorded. The man is beating the woman. If you are that God who was very just, what would you want the action to be? Your answer would be the first person, the man, should get his due because he's doing something wrong. That is the answer. So I want you to think logically. Remember, this is an exposition. So logically, I want you to think. If you are the judge sitting in judgment, what would you say? Do you think the man should be put in jail? That doesn't solve the problem with the woman, does it? No, she has taken beating for maybe 10 or 20 years. Does it solve the problem by putting this man in jail? Not at all. Do you think this person needs to be beaten? Once, twice, 10 times? Not at all. The answer in this is future lives. There is a future life. Another birth and another death, another birth and another death. It's called rebirths. So the answer lies in the future births. The position will get reversed. And then the woman will get the upper hand and the man in this life will get the lower one. And it will keep on going continuously. On and on and on and on. Not just one or two lifetimes, but many lifetimes, because it never ends. So this is one example which you need to understand. How does it work? Let us take another example. You have heard a lot of financial frauds happening in this world. There are people who run away with millions and billions of dollars from the banks, from people, wherever. And you may say that there is no justice again in this world. This one person has robbed so much of money. Repayment may happen in the next life. We don't know. So this person has to take a rebirth because he owes that money to those people. So this is the answer to that question of action and inaction. Action has to be performed, but it should not lead to further rebirths. This is the main crux of the problem which has to be sorted out. We should not get affected in the future life. Such a kind of action has to be performed. So now I hope you understood the reason why we have to tackle this question very, very intelligently, the way Krishna is going to solve it for us. So we move to the next verse, verse 17, chapter 4 from the Bhagavad Gita. Krishna is answering this to Arjuna. The truth about action must be known, and the truth about inaction also must be known. Even so, the truth about prohibited action, which means vikarma, must be known, for mysterious are the ways of action. Action, inaction, and prohibited action. Everybody has to know this. Why are you supposed to know this? There are so many things happening in this world. If you do not know the answer, he says, mysterious are the ways. Why is it a mystery? The reason why it is a mystery is because man has no idea about his past lives or his future lives. Did you get it? You don't know what has happened in the past life. You can only see the present, and the future also is not visible to anybody. And that is a mystery for everybody. Nobody understands. This knowledge is so very important, because if you do not understand this knowledge, you can get into debts forever and ever and ever. People have asked me, what is the problem if I come to birth again? How do you know you are going to get a birth as a human being? You have absolutely no idea. You may be born as a very tiny creature called a tardigrade. I know you may not know about tardigrades. Tardigrades are literally like invincible creatures, very tiny. You may be born as a big whale. You may be born as a tree. Who knows? When are you going to repay those people? This is the question you need to ask yourself. You think life is simple? Even if you are a big whale, there are such big whalers out there who are out to catch you and kill you. If you are a tree, there are people who are out to cut you down. Are you not at the mercy? You may be even the smallest of the worm. Why would you want to go through this kind of life over and over again? You may be a bird who is taking birth very high up on the mountains, and the bird has to fall down. It falls down. Sometimes it is not able to fly. It hits the rock and dies. What kind of a death is that? And then to be born again and again and again. Do you understand? Even human birth is very painful. You don't know what the child goes through. People know what a woman goes through when she is giving birth. She thinks that her pain is very, very severe. Ask the child, the baby, if the baby is able to tell you. being held upside down in the womb for 9 months. I mean, just imagine you are put upside down in a closed chamber, no place, space to even move your hands like this, and you are tied up over there for 9 whole months. It is difficult. Immersed in water. And then to be born in this world, it's a tremendously stressful time for the child. Nobody understands this. That birth is also tough. So why would you want to have rebirths? Is a question you need to ask yourself. So Krishna is going to give an explanation how to get out of this situation. By doing the action, how can an individual get the release? So the truth has to be known about action as well as inaction, and prohibited action as well. Mysterious are the ways of action, he says. We move to the next verse, 18. Bhagavad Gita chapter 4 verse 18. He who sees inaction in action and action in inaction is wise among men. He is a yogi who has performed all actions. This is a very, very difficult statement to understand. He says, Krishna is explaining, he who sees inaction in action and action in inaction is wise amongst men. He is a yogi who has performed all actions. The first one that Krishna is tackling is a yogi. What does yogis do? What do yogis do? The yogis, they perform action which is literally like you can't see it happening. And they are sitting in one place doing inaction, and yet a lot of actions are happening. This is a very strange world for an average human being. How does this work? So let me explain. What do the yogis do? When you meet a sage or a saint and you touch his feet, or maybe you do a namaskar from far, in your heart you have a certain question. That question is really vexing you quite a lot. It is hurting you. It is creating too many problems in your life. So you go and stand in front of this yogi, this great sage or the saint, the guru. And what does he do? You will find that maybe he will give you one small look and then get lost in his world. The answer is you have asked him a question from the innermost of your being. He has just given you a look. And that look doesn't say anything. And you leave that place thinking that I came here to find an answer, but nothing is actually happening. So, the answer is not apparent to you. You wanted to find out about a very difficult situation. That situation has affected your life. You wanted to say to him, can you please solve this for me? And yet you see him just sitting over there doing nothing. You come back home and then you think that my visit was a waste. I should not even have gone over there. A few days later, the problem which was troubling you so much vanishes. You will be amazed to know that just that look itself, which actually didn't mean much to you, has changed the entire scene in front of you. Now you will understand to be in the company of the sages and the saints is so very important. You may think they are not solving your problems. Just their one look or their glance can create so many things in this world. Do you know exactly what happens over there? Your petition has been received. The petition could be even the stupidest thing in the world. And that petition, when it is received by this yogi, the sage, the swami, the guru, whoever he is, he has glanced over it. The universe around him works the magic. Remember, he is the master of Ashtasiddhis. The Siddhis are his assistants right round. The universe is the assistants right round. It is going to create that magic in your world. So in his inaction, he's not done anything, remember. He's just glanced over you. An action got performed. And sometimes, very strangely, the same master, the same guru, may take a big cane and start running after you and may beat you. And you will say, why is he beating me? I have not done anything wrong. May throw stones at you, may pick up a stone and throw it at you, may hit you badly. At such point in time, you will wonder, is this fellow gone mad? Or many a times he'll look at you and he'll give you a very strong stare and say, get out from here. And you'll say, oh my God, what have I done? He's throwing me out. This is a strange scenario that is the sages and saints know they do. We do not understand what is happening. An average human being has no knowledge what is happening. He thinks, oh, this fellow is against me. Oh, till just now he was your guru and now he's become that fellow. Because he has taken a stick and running after you. That is the funny part. His action of even beating you or slapping you or throwing you out or doing whatever that he does looks like an action, but actually it is inaction. There is no karma which is getting accumulated in his name or in your name. He has actually beaten the karma out of your life. Okay? Nobody understands this. You should know the sage or the saint or these great yogis, the gurus, these spiritual masters, they work in a very funny manner. It looks like as if they are not doing something, or it looks like they are doing too much. But both these cases, It is an action, and yet no karma accrues to them, neither to you. This is the truth. So, and that is the reason why he is called the wise amongst men. He has tremendous wisdom, the wisdom to overcome the cycle of birth and death, rebirths. At a time, he may just pinch you. He may just touch your tongue, pull your tongue. He may just tap you on your head. You know how they, even one solid rap on your head also, you should be happy to take. I craved for my gurus when I was searching, I craved for my guru to at least slap me once. It never happened. Though I was worthy of being slapped. He was very generous. He sat next to me, talking to me. And the next time, I couldn't even meet him close by. The only thing I could touch is his padukas. That's it. It's very strange. That action is more than enough. The look is more than enough. Let me tell you this much. If a guru says something, it may seem very stupid. He may just say, go get me a glass of water. And you may look around and say, but Guruji, there is a bottle of water next to you, no? Take that. Don't say those words. Get up, go get a glass of water, clean the glass by the way, and get a pure glass of water and put it in front of him. He may not even look at that glass, by the way. By then he would have opened the bottle and drunk it. And the glass would be lying over there. You may wonder, why did he send me out to get that glass of water? How do you know? I will give you a very funny instance that happened when I was in Alsur. One day there was a person sitting in front of me. There were some 20-30 people, and in that, this one person was sitting in front of me. I looked at him and I said, you must be hungry now. He said, yeah, Guruji, I'm very hungry. Get up and go to that market over there and get some things to eat. So he went. So he went and brought certain things, and he came about half an hour later. It was a simple answer to him. And then he asked me, can I eat? I said, please go ahead and eat. Because he was hungry. So he started eating. What was I supposed to tell him at that time? In that half an hour gap, there was something that occurred over there, which he should not have been a party to. So I had to kick him out. So he went and he came back. And that half an hour was sufficient for that problem to get sorted out. So the way in which the gurus and the sages, the saints, their work can never be understood. They will do some action which is beyond anybody's ken and understanding. They will say some words. You will try to reason with him. Don't reason. Don't try to argue. Don't try to reason, because there is no point in reasoning. There is no point in arguing. They have already set the ball in motion. It's an important thing that you just go and do what you have been told to do. I have had certain great people in my world. When I tell them very clearly, take your parents to the doctor, take them to this place, they never want to listen. And next week when I have holiday, next time when I have this, next time like that. Oh, the doctor's appointment is 10 days later. They will give me some kind of silly reason, not realizing that there is an impending doom that is awaiting them. This procrastinating attitude, which everybody has, is wrong. You really don't know what is going on in the background. They are the ones who are called the Sakshat Parabrahma. Please remember this. Anything that they say is absolute truth. Don't argue with them. Don't say things, because their action is equivalent to inaction. And their inaction, when they don't say anything, is equal to a lot of action. You do not understand the way they work. Got it? We are doing the next verse now. This is chapter 4, Bhagavad Gita, verse 19. Even the wise call him sage, whose undertakings are free from desires and sankalpa, that is the thoughts of this world, and whose actions are burnt up by the fire of wisdom. In continuation with the last verse, let me give you further understanding. The wise people are called the sage. Why? Because their undertakings are free from desires and sankalpas, which is the thoughts of this world. The sage sometimes says, give me some money. Let us say, he says, how much money do you have? I have 500 rupees. Give. You have more than 1,000 bucks. But you just told him you have 500 with you. And you give only 500. This sage, this wise man is not asking for himself. Please remember this. He is not asking for himself. Never does a sage or a saint or a wise man ask anything for himself. So what you give, say you have given that 500 rupees. After some time when you leave, another person comes. He takes that money and gives it to him. But that person's requirement was 1,000 rupees. You have given 500 only. Remember this, huh? Just see the sequence, how it works. You were given the chance of redemption and you lost it. Given the chance of redemption and you lost it. You had 1,000 rupees in your pocket, you gave only 500 rupees. The person who came next was given that 500 rupees and his requirement was 1,000 rupees. What has the sage done? Do you know what he does? He creates the 500 additional shortage in some other place and gives it to this person. He reimburses the balance amount from another person. And then this person gets his 1,000 rupees, the one who had come to ask. In the meanwhile, what has happened is you have lost the chance of being the recipient of that good thing that was supposed to happen. Many a times I ask people, can you pay this person so much? And they say, why does he have to get so much? We will give him only this much. They negotiate. If somebody negotiates, do you know what happens? Same example. If it is 500 rupees, the person was asking for 1000 and you have given 500 to him, negotiating. Do you know that whatever you give, you get 100 times of that value? So you were supposed to get 50,000 rupees now. But if you would have given 1000, you would have got 100,000. This is the thing which you have forgotten. You are getting half of it. This is the compensation that works out. Somebody asked me a question. I said to that person, you see, whatever you do, please give me some percentage from it. Guruji. I said, yeah. I said, I'm a commission agent, 10% is my commission. The funny part is, even if I take that 10%, I will give him back 100 of that. And this 10% which is collected will go to somebody else. So his good karma will come to him only. Now, how much has this person lost? Quite a lot. The funny part about giving is this. Giving is a very beautiful thing. Nobody understands what is this idea called giving. The sage, the saint, the guru has no desires whatsoever. Please remember this. He doesn't create sankalpas for himself. He doesn't say that whatever money you give, I am going to build a very big building over there. He's not bothered about buildings. He's not bothered about creating sankalpas. You understand sankalpa means creating some kind of a construct. No, he's not interested in your money. He is interested in your goodwill. You will get something out of it. That is the reason why they ask for money. This is the truth about sages and saints. Sometimes they will say some nonsensical words and you will wonder, oh, look at him, he's asking for money. Why does he require? He lives in 2 clothes or 4 clothes, that's it. He doesn't even have fancy ideas about, buying some LVMH kind of goods. Oh, just imagine him carrying the Louis Vuitton, suitcase. He is not interested in that. He goes with one jolly, maybe a backpack for all you know. These yogis, these sages and saints are very funny creatures. They don't have desires. Let me assure you this much. They don't have any desires. If they take something from you, they give it to somebody else, and that somebody else's good karma comes to you. Because it is just an adjustment done by him. He's the via media. That is what it means. The wise man is called a sage whose undertakings are free from desires and sankalpas, that is the thoughts of this world. He's not thinking, I want this money. He's not thinking like that. No way. If he has something with him, he'll remove it and give it away. That is the way. And his actions are burnt up by the fire of wisdom. His wisdom is so strong. I mean, you can imagine that wisdom is literally like a burning fire. The knowledge is like that. Whatever you put in it is turned to ashes. So all your karmas, absolutely the karma that is there, any kind, it gets destroyed immediately in the company of the sages and the saints. The reason why you have to be in the company of the sages and the saints, the gurus, is this. Just by a glance, they can remove that karma of yours. And when you are in their company, they will ask you to do all kinds of funny stuff. Go get me water. Go water the plants. Anything. You may have 10 rupees. He will say, give me that. Don't you remember the story of Ramakrishna Paramahansa asking everybody around how much money do they have? Finally, it comes to a very tiny amount. A small amount. Not sufficient even to take a buggy from his place to Calcutta. But that gives so much of relief to every individual who contributed towards it. This story of the bhakri is there. Bhakri means flatbread. Where there is this person sitting in a jungle eating a tiny bhakri. There are passerbys. So he breaks it and gives it to that person. And then a dog comes. And when the dog comes, he gives the balance to the dog also. That is the kind of sacrifice that is needed in this world. The story progresses where he runs behind the dog with one small, tin of ghee. Actually, it's a long story, but I just cut it down for you to understand how this thing works. It's a very strange world. And these sages and saints are responsible for minusing out that karma from your life. So always understand the way they work. They don't have any desires whatsoever. They are not desirous of anything. We'll do verse 20. Chapter 4, Bhagavad Gita, verse 20. He who, having totally given up attachments to action and their fruit, no longer depends on anything in this world and is ever content, does nothing at all, though fully engaged in action. We are continuing about this wise man only. A wise man who knows what is action. He has totally given up attachments to action. In our normal world, I tell some people, you be good, you do nice stuff. That person will do good to one or two people and will come and report back to me. Oh, I did good to this person, I did good to this person. The moment you open your mouth and say that I have done good, it gets crossed out. That action becomes inaction. Never open your mouth and come and tell a sage or a saint or the guru that I have done this. If he has told you, go do it, don't talk about it. Not even one word. I told you the universe is around him listening to the words. He may not utter a single word also. Never go and report back. And even if he provokes and asks you, have you done this? Just nod your head. That's it. You don't have to give a full length explanation. Don't bother about giving explanations. You think the wise man doesn't know? You would be the greatest fool in the world to think that he doesn't know. The guru is equally like that. He will behave as if he doesn't know anything. So do the action, but don't ever come and report back to him that I have done it. Never do that. He's totally given up attachments to action and their fruit. There is a fruit which comes from every action. Remember this. This fruit, when you accept it, that I have done it, do you know what is the fruit of that action? A karmic loop. It has put you in a karmic loop with those people. I'll give you a situation. The Guru says, every time you meet a person, give 10 rupees to that person. So you have forgotten. Later on, he may just say, have you done? So you go and give 10 rupees to one person and give 10 rupees to another person. And so the Guru will again ask you the question, what happened? I gave 10 rupees to this person and I gave 10 rupees to that person. I did good, you know. I started my actions. And you know what has happened now? Minus 20. Not plus 20. Minus 20 for you. Why do you want to get into this? These are desireless beings. They are not even interested in knowing what you're doing. They know what you're doing, by the way. Do you understand the difference of what I said? You think that they don't know, but they know everything. So, they know what is the action and what is the fruit of action. They don't want the fruit of action to come to you. Let us revisit that situation again. You have given 10 rupees to one person and 10 rupees to another person. Right? The moment you open your mouth and say, I gave 10 rupees to A and I gave 10 rupees to B, immediately that action becomes completely filled with karma. Now, those person owe you 10 rupees. So A owes you 10 rupees, B owes you 10 rupees. When the Guru said it to give it just like that, it was without karma. No karma attached to it. But the moment you uttered from your mouth, I did it, now it has become karmic action. You have to pay for it. You know how you have to pay for it? In some life of theirs and yours, you will be a poor man and they will have to come and give you that 10 rupees. Why have you called on yourself this action? It has become your rebirth. Do you get these simple sentences? Don't come and talk about all these things that you do. There should be no fruit at the end of it. That action should be like inaction. I gave, I did this, is a very dangerous one. The moment you say, I gave, I did this, it involves what is called as karma. Why would anybody want to get into it? It has to be nishkam karma. A karma which is having zero return value. No returns. Otherwise, to take the returns, you have to go back. Got the answer? So, the wise man, he has given up attachments to the world and their fruit also. Let us revisit the yogi, the guru or the saint who has taken money from you. Let us visit him once again. He has taken money, but the fruit of it is not coming to him. No fruit of it. He's not going to get affected by the money that he collects from you. He no longer depends on anything in this world. He is not dependent on anything in this world. You think by taking your little amount of money that you gave, 10 rupees, 15 rupees, 100 rupees, 1000, 10,000, you think he's going to fill his stomach? Nothing like that. He can create food if he wants to on his own. So, he is no longer dependent on anything in this world and is always content. Contentment means he is fulfilled. There is nothing like I want, I did this, I did this. These actions are not there in him. The wise man, the sage or the saint has no such things. Now, all these verses, what are they teaching? You have to become that wise man. Do you get the point? These 4 verses are telling you something. You become that wise man. You become that sage or the saint. Do good in this world, but never accept it. Don't bother about the fruits of action. I did this for him. That person should be gracious, that person should be thankful. What? Then you are not a wise man. You are an idiot. By doing something in this world, if you think you are expecting some thank or some kind of a citation or some kind of a prize or something, perform the action of giving, but do not expect anything back. Give it away with a very, very free heart. Do you get the point? When you do something, you may give money, you may give job, you may give position, you may give your own blood, or you may do whatever, donate to charity. Never acknowledge it. Never ever do anything of acknowledging this. Just do it. That doership is like doing nothing. So action culminating into no such rebirths. All the actions have to be good. Never acknowledge them. Don't take anything in return. You see, when you go for any of the courses, nowadays everybody does courses, online. And they are expecting the university should grant me a certificate. That is called expectation. You do some jobs in some place and you think, oh, I have done this job over here. I should get something out of it. Expectation. If you are doing seva of your guru, or you are doing seva in a mandir or a gurudwara or whichever place, do not expect the God should give me something, or you are doing it for some return. Don't do that. Do selfless action. That is the word you have to always keep in mind. Do selfless action. All these actions should be without any attachment. Because I like this person, I am going to do it. No. Do it for everybody equally. No attachments of any sort. Never bothered about the fruits about this. Don't even bother about the fruits of this action. Whatever comes out of it is not your concern. He is ever content. You may be doing 1,000 rupees job and you may get 10 rupees or may get nothing at all. Don't worry about it. That is not your job to worry. It is God's job to give. He will give you. And He will give it to you 1,000,000 times more. Why are you worried about it? So, person who does this kind of an action doesn't do any action at all. So, karma doesn't accrue to this person. So, this kind of a man who is a wise man does all kinds of action without acknowledging, without expectation, without any kind of results. action has to be done. It is called inaction. So there is action in inaction, and inaction, action. So I hope you got this answer. So we will stop over here, and next time we will start from verse 21 onwards. You take care of yourself, have a great week ahead, and stay safe. Bye.